Hi, welcome to today's session on Yes You Canva. I'm Anna Dillamore and I'm representing our Professional Development Center here at San Joaquin Delta College. Today, I'm going to get you started with Canva. Now, Canva, in case you don't know about it, is an amazing online graphic design tool. And it's free and it's available for all of us that are quite graphic designers but would love to have great images, background presentations, backdrops, flyers, infographics, anything you need, you name it, you can create this in Canva. Now, because it's an online graphic design tool, we have options in terms of creating our accounts, right? You can have a free Canva account or you can have a pro Canva account. The pro account, it's $12.99 per month. And if you do get the pro account, you just have access to more graphics, more templates, more images, and you also have kind of pro access to some of the editing tools that aren't available in that free account. In the free account, you can see everything. You just might not be able to use all of the different editing tools available. You also get a little bit more storage, cloud for your designs. Today's agenda, we'll get you started on getting your accounts. Make sure I walk you through the Canvas dashboard. Then we'll go ahead and create a design, use the editor, and work with your Canva. But before we get you started right away, let me just give you a very brief information of what the dashboard looks like. When you log into Canva, you're going to notice a kind of home page for Canva. We'll call this our dashboard. On the top right corner of our dashboard, we're going to see a Create a Design button. It's going to be purple in the top right corner. Once you click that, you can start right away with any of your designs. If you're looking at templates, things that are already created for you, or even past projects, or if you're collaborating with other people and you want to look at designs that you're sharing with others, you'll use the left side navigation. So there's Home, Templates, Projects, and then right below that you'll be able to see kind of teams that you're working with. At the center of our screen here, what will you design? It gives you different options for creating designs. The For You section will have pre-selected designs, and this will appear differently for every single person every time you log into Canva, because everything's personalized based on your styles, the frequent designs that you've created. Pretty much it's personalized based on every individual, right? And if you scroll down, you'll be able to see all of your recent designs. If you get started and click that Create a Design button in Canva, you'll notice that there's an array of suggested design styles or items that you might want to create: videos, presentations, infographics, Facebook posts, flyers. Just keep scrolling down and then you'll have newsletters, emails. I mean, the list goes on and on. All of these designs, the only difference between all of these designs is really the resolution, the size. And I'll show you about that in just a second. When you get into the editor, so you've created your design, you'll notice the editor's that left side navigation on your screen. There you can view all of the pre-created templates. You can view elements that can be added to any of your designs. That's pictures, graphics, GIFs, anything you want to include in any design. It's all available under Elements. Upload, that's when you upload elements into the cloud or your Canva cloud, right? And then you have text in different styles and typography. You can upload photos or use the photos that are pre-created or shared in Canva for everyone. And then styles will allow you to use different fonts and combinations of fonts and color palettes that are preset in Canva. You can add audio and you can also change the background and include different background styles for any of your images. Everything's sorted out, but the key go-to buttons, really Elements. So let's get you started with our designs here. Now, once you go into Canva, you'll notice we have kind of on the left side, what's in the dark gray or black color there, that's our editor, right? What's in white and gray, the white, gray, white section, that's our canvas space. This is where we can write, this is where we can edit anything and design anything. To the top of that white rectangular section that we see above our Canva, that's our rich content editor. That will change depending on which element we've selected. Within this Canva page, we'll be able to duplicate pages, add or move pages, and adjust the view for any of our pages. If you would like to include notes, you can do that at the bottom of the page. We'll get into this in just a second. I know you guys are ready to get started, so let's go ahead and get you started with Canva. First thing you're going to do is you want to make sure you have a free Canva account to get yourself started with Canva, and then go to the home page for your Canva account. Mine's loading up right now. This is my dashboard page for Canva. I do have a Canva Pro account. The district does not pay for the Canva Pro accounts, so you'd have to have your own Pro account if you'd like to have one, which is I highly recommend it because you have access to a lot more templates, graphics, and images, and then you have access to a lot more design tools that are available. They're visible by everyone, but you can only use them in the Canva Pro account. Now, you'll notice, like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to zoom in here. We have our Create a Design. If you click that button, okay, if you click that button, there we go. We now have a pop-up. Now our pop-up is showing all of the different elements that we can create or we can design in Canva. And this is great. This is the spot you want to go to get started with Canva. You can start a design by your custom size, you can edit a photo, or you can just start by importing a file, and then your design would be the size of that file. The next thing you'll notice on the left side navigation here is we have templates, we have projects. These are things that I've created in the past and I've just filed everything away and sorted into that project folder. If you're working with teams and collaborating with others, this is where you want to do this. Now, someone mentioned in our session today that they were interested in the brand and content planners. These two options are only available for the Pro accounts. This is where you can have a personalized color palette. Say you want to use Delta colors and you want to have that palette available for you on every design. This is where you would set that up. In the center of the page, here we have that what will you design. Here you have access to pre-selected templates that are kind of set up for you based on what you currently do design. And then we have a couple of whiteboards, presentations. If I click through, the templates that I see are going to keep changing based on the tool that I would like to create. For today's session, we're going to go ahead and go to Create a Design and then select Custom Size. Once again, to the top right corner of the page, click on Create a Design. To the bottom panel of that pop-up, click on Custom Size. We are going to be creating a course header. So for our course header, we want the dimensions to be 600 by 200 pixels. So type in 600 by 200, and you want to make sure that PX pixels is available for you. So if you can't find pixels, click on the drop down and then make sure to select PX for pixels. And then click Create a Design. This will open up a new tab for you. And on this new tab, you'll notice, it does take a moment to load. You'll notice a lot of different things, right? And it's a little different than the preview that I showed earlier. And that's because the previews depend on the size of your canvas. My canvas now is a 600 by 200 pixels. So all of the templates here oops, I lost my mouse. There we go. All of the templates available here are all templates that fit that preview size that I currently have. Now, before we start getting into the editor, let's make sure we name our design here so that if we ever need to save this and use it again, we know where to find it. We're going to go to the top right corner of our page here, and next to the share button, we see an insights button. And then next to that, my mouse is hovering over it, I see Untitled Design 600 pixels by 200 pixels. I'm going to click anywhere where that text is. Once I click on it, it's going to erase and type course header. I do want to include the size, so this is 600 by 200 pixels. And then to get rid of that highlighted section, just click anywhere outside and that will be saved. This is just the name of the design that I'm currently working on. It will still automatically save, but if you name your designs, it's just easier to search for once you've accumulated quite a few of them. It just makes your work a little bit easier if you start kind of saving things and naming them right away. Getting you started with your templates. In that template section, I'm just going to zoom in real quick for that template section. In that template section, you can search different templates, right? You can search just based on a name. I can search for online course, and I'll get a ton of templates for online courses. You'll notice there's a slight difference between some of the templates. Some of the templates have a crown, the bottom right corner of the template. That means it's a pro template. The tools that were used to create that template were pro. Sometimes there are a couple of free templates that use elements that are from the pro account. You'll notice a difference later on today that when we try to download those templates, it's going to ask us to get a pro account. So we want to make sure we delete the elements that are from the pro account so that we're able to download our free templates. Now I'm going to clear the search history by selecting the X, and I'm going to type in webinar and press enter. Now I'm going to use a template, and I only want to use a free template, right? So I'm going to scroll down, and I kind of like the style of this business webinar template. To use it, all I have to do is click on it once. And you'll notice it popped over to the right side. That's my canvas space. I'm going to zoom out so that you can see that canvas space. Now here in that canvas space, you can see that same template that we just copied over. We want to work with this template. We want to use this template, but I need to make sure that I personalize this so that I can use it in my own courses, right? One way to do that is we can start off by removing elements that we do not need. The teachers here is great and everything, but I really want this to be personalized, and I want it to include an image of myself, who I would be teaching. So I'm gonna go ahead and click that image there and select the delete button on my keyboard, and that will delete it. To undo anything on the keyboard, type Ctrl-Z and it will undo it. Now if you don't find that delete button on your keyboard, if you click on an element, you can also select the trash bag button and it will delete it as well. So that's just another way to do that. So I would go through and I would delete the logo here text, click on and delete the logo image. I would delete where it says business webinar, and I would delete the link that's below the join or next to the join now, and I would also delete the box in white. Now I've deleted everything I don't need. I want to edit the text so it has information that I want to use, right? So to get more traffic with digital marketing, I'm gonna double click that text section and I'm gonna personalize it for today's session. Yes, you Canva. And type yes, you Canva. So to edit the text, all you have to do is click on the text. If you double click, it will highlight everything in blue, and as soon as you start typing, it will erase the previous text that you have. Now, I am not a digital marketer. I am actually the professional development and distance education coordinator for our professional development center. Now, notice that once I typed coordinator, that text used to be a single box, but now it's in 2 rows, and graphically it's not as appealing as it was before. So to resize that, Notice that my text is highlighted. If I hover my mouse over the right edge of that image, let me see if I zoom in, you'll see an arrow. It's tiny arrow, but it's an arrow that has, or a line with arrows pointing to the left and right. If I click that and drag it out, it's now resizing that text box. It's giving it more space in terms of its width. That's great. But now what about the box around the Join Now button here? I can also resize that by clicking on that outline and do the same thing. So when I click on that outline and drag the mouse, click and drag the mouse, you can position that just where you want it to be, so that once you kind of, click and drag, you can resize it any way you need to resize it. If you need to make it taller, you can drag it up. Now, if you want to resize it, but you would like to keep the proportions the same throughout, what you can do is you can click and drag on the vertices here. If you click and drag on the vertices, notice that I'm now resizing that same box, but my proportions are now kind of kept the same throughout. So there aren't any other changes that I'd like to make to the font just yet, but there will be more changes that we'll need to make to this presentation. So the next change that I would like to do is I would like to really add an image of the instructor, in this case, myself. Now, if you don't have an image of yourself, I have provided a link for you that you can use to download an image of yourself. But if you click on the editor, select the Uploads button. In the Uploads buttons, click on Upload Files. You should be able to locate the file that you want to upload. Mine's in my downloaded folder, and I have a picture of myself that I'll be using for this slide. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on my picture, and you're going to see a new picture of myself loaded there. Once it loads, it'll no longer have that green tab right below it. You can click that picture and drag it all the way to the right side. You want to hover your mouse over the landscape so that your picture is now the backdrop for that section of the page. Once you see your image in the backdrop, let go of the mouse and it's going to be in the backdrop for that frame. If you don't like the position of your picture, you can double click that picture. Now notice that I can see the full dimensions of that picture I just used, and I can click and drag to position that picture. Now right now I can only move it up and down. The reason for this is that my picture is the smallest width it could possibly be for this frame that I'm currently using. To resize it, click on the vertices and drag it out. And now, let's do that again. Click on the vertices and drag it out. Let go of the mouse there. Now I can go up and down, just like I did earlier, but now I can shift it to the left and to the right to find a position that will allow me to better center this on my slides here. So once you've found a place where you're happy with your image there, you just want to let go of the mouse and it will go back to the frame kind of outline that we had earlier. So I'm kind of okay with that picture for now, but I'm not so happy with all of the different colors. Like, it's not quite working for me. I would like to personalize the colors, but I don't quite have the eye to find colors that are perfect or find the perfect color palette. To save me, Canvas has a styles button. So if you go back to the editor, there's templates, elements, uploads, text, buttons, or not buttons, photos, and then there's styles. Select the styles button. On this styles button, you'll notice I have a pre-created color palette. I try to use color palettes that will work for San Joaquin Delta College, and I have them listed up here. I can see colors and fonts that I've used recently, but I'm going to focus on just the color palettes. I want to just completely focus on color palettes, not the fonts just yet. Click See All. And now I have a great array of different color palettes that I can just click through and test to see if they work well with the template I have. Now, if you click on any single one of these color palettes multiple times, it will shuffle between the different color backgrounds that we have, which is really nice. I really do like that option of being able to click on the color palettes and then shuffling through, testing the different color options that are available. I think that's a really nice option that's available. So you would go through, click through, find a color palette that works for you, and that's pretty much it. Now notice that there is an element here that I'm going to go through and click through. There's an element that's not changing colors. Do you spot it now? Yes, this section here. If I click on it, I can see that, whoa, someone added some type of gradient tool. Well, when I apply color palettes to the entire Canvas page, it will not apply it to other elements that I've included other than the background and the font or any text, right? It won't include those changes to elements that are added, that are pre-created by someone else. So if you include a circle and you apply a color palette change, it's going to change. But if you use an element that someone else created and drag and drop it onto your Canva, it's not going to change colors. So that's something to keep in mind for your Canva templates here. So once again, just click through, find a font that works for you, find a color that you'd like. Once you're happy with your fonts, or with your color palettes, we will now take a look at the fonts. So click the back arrow to go back. And now we're in that same style section, but now we're looking at font sets. So if you click through any of these different font sets, you'll notice a different font for the header, a different font for the subheader, and then any paragraph text that you want to include in your presentation. You can click through all of them, test them out, find a font that you'd really like. I prefer to use this method sometimes because there's so many fonts in Canva, and I don't have time to go through and scan all of the different types of fonts to see which ones work the best for my presentation. Sometimes I just don't have that time, so I go through this page here, click through until I can find something that works for me. I'm pretty happy with this font. Now some of the text here is a little small, so we'd want to resize it. To resize the text, you have two options. One, you can click on the text box, just like we did for the images. You can select the vertices and drag it out. So that's one way of resizing the text box. If I resize the edges, as long as I don't go into the text, it's gonna stay in that same row. That's one great way of resizing the text. Notice that as I move this text box around, I see all of these purple or fuchsia color lines and numbers popping up. This is telling me about the alignment of the text box I'm currently using with all of the elements around it. So it's telling me how far I am from other elements. So when you see the numbers, like here we see 10 and 10, it's telling me how far I am from each of those images. And just to keep some type of consistency here. So that's one thing that we can do for text. But if you want to resize it and use the editor, select the text, and if you go to the top editor box here, selecting the plus sign next to the text numbers will increase the text size, and the minus will decrease that. zoom out just a bit so that we can see all of that. So I've increased the font. I'm going to recenter it because it kind of moved around a little bit too much for me, but I'm pretty content with that. Now there's some text that's a little bit harder to view, like the join now button. It's now quite invisible. So if you want to make something pop, you can change the colors of text. So if I select the join now text, back up at the editor where we see the A with the line underneath, that will change the text color. If I select that, I can now select text from this document that I'm currently using, colors that I've pre-created, a color palette, or colors from the photo that I've uploaded. And you can try different colors to see what works. Now, if you're not quite happy with the colors, you can move the backgrounds. Just click and drag, and it will shift the entire background so that you can now see that color just a little bit more. So if that doesn't work, keep trying different colors that will draw attention. Maybe increasing the size will now make things a little bit more visible for everyone. So now I can drag that button so that it's centered. I'm pretty happy with this. It's pretty basic, but I can live with this now, for now. I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to duplicate a page in Canva. Now in that Canva editor, right to the top right corner, you'll notice 3 buttons. Let's look at that 3 button section. The first button will allow you to add a page. It's always going to start with a blank page. You can duplicate a page, or you can click this lock here and it's going to lock the page. If you lock the page and you try to click anywhere, you can't move anything around here, so it's going to save your work. I'm going to unlock it for now, just because I wish to duplicate this page and I want my duplicate to be unlocked. So I've clicked the duplicate page now. Now that I've done that, notice I have extra buttons that I didn't see before. I can see the delete page button now, and I also see these arrows to rearrange the order of the canvas that I'm currently working with. I can move it up, and then I can't move it down since there's nothing below this slide. But here are my 2 copies. Now, in the style section, I showed you how to change the color using a color palette, how to change the fonts, just fonts by itself. But now we can look at a combination of colors and fonts. Because Canva does a really good job of combining different colors and fonts that work very nicely together. If you go back to styles, combinations, you'll see all of the different combinations that you can have for the different styles available here in Canva. So using this button here, now you can really personalize this pretty quickly, trying out the different colors that work. Now, one of the nice benefits of Canva, right now I'm having a hard time trying to find something that works with the image because of the background. There's just a lot going on there. So what I would do, if I have free the Pro account, I would double click that image, or not double click, I would click on that image so that in the top editor, I would see an edit image button. Now if you click that edit image button, there's an option to remove the background. If you click that background remover, it's going to completely remove everything that's in the background. It's not like always 100% perfect, but it looks really good. And I didn't have to do any extra work. I didn't have to do it manually, or I didn't have to use any outside tool to remove the backgrounds from my image. And here it is. The background has been removed from my image. Now I can move that image around so that it's in my slide. I can move it so that it's a little bit smaller and not kind of sticking out so much. Anything that works. So here is one somewhat completed template that I have for my Canva. Now the next thing we'll do is you're going to create your own Canvas course header from scratch. So instead of using a template and editing and using the different styles, now we're going to do this from scratch. To do this from scratch, you're going to click the Add New Page button, not the duplicate one, the Add a Page. If you don't see it at the top right corner, right below your last slide, you'll see the Add Page button. Now the color of your background might be completely different from mine. That's okay. It doesn't matter. What matters is you have a new blank slide, which is where we're starting from scratch. Now that we have multiple slides, before we move on to editing all of them, notice that next to each slide on the top left corner, there's a page number and then there's a title. You can name each one of these. So this is sample 1 by clicking on the section where it says Add Title. So all I'm doing is clicking on Add Title and then typing. This is sample 2. And now my third project is the one I'm going to call Made from Scratch. Now that I have this image here, or my new Canvas template, I'm going to go ahead and go to the editor and select the Elements button. In the Elements button, I can now start by having like some type of nice background image for my Canva. I could use the background button as well, but if I search elements, I'm not just limiting myself to pictures that are pre-saved as backgrounds. Sometimes people will share images in Canva, but they won't label them as the background image, so you might not get the same or pictures from the same libraries. So I like to go to Elements, and in the search section, I'm going to type interior of a library. Now it's pre-saved for me because I used that earlier, but go ahead and select interior of a library. You're going to notice there are a couple of Pro templates here. I don't want to use them and I don't want to see those. Click the filter button. When you click that filter button, if you scroll down, be sure to select free so you can only see the free templates, and then apply filters. Now that I've clicked on that, I can now see free templates. Everything I'm looking at, it's not just pictures, but now I'm looking at graphics, some short videos that have been created by others. All of this works. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start by just using this image of a library with the lights hanging up or hanging from the ceiling. To use this image, all I will do is I'm going to click on the image, drag it over to my page. Notice that as soon as I drag it over to the page now changes to the background image. That's really nice. So if you find an image that you really like, just click and drag it. If you want to find images by more images by that artist, you can select that 3 dots, the ellipses there. When you select that, it will give you the name of the image. This is the interior of a library. It gives you the author, the artist, the owner of that image. This is by StockSnap. And it gives you a list of all of the keywords that are used to pull up this image from their database. You can also star this image to save it, and you can select the See More like this to view images that are really nice and kind of similar to the one we just used. We're going to stick with this one, just keep it simple for now. But once you have that image in your backdrop, we're now ready to add text. We're going to click the text box in the editor, and once you click that text box, you'll notice that there's combinations of different text fonts that we can use, but then there's actual text boxes. So we're going to click on add a heading, add a subheading, and add a little bit of body text. This is our paragraph text. Now that I've added all 3 of them, in my own Canva section here, I'm going to click on add a heading. If you double click, remember it will highlight that text for you. So go ahead and double click and type welcome. This is a course header for my online course. So this is my Canvas course 101. You can name this whatever your course name would be. And for a little bit of body text, I would include the name of the instructor. I'm Ana de Ramona, so I would type my name. Now, the text is really small. I would like to resize it, but when I resize it, I don't want to resize each one of these text paragraphs or text lines individually. I would like to resize everything together and make sure I keep the same proportions for the sizes. In order to do that, you have to group the elements. To do so, you're going to left click on the Canva, click anywhere on the Canva. You'll notice this purple array. It's kind of faded purple, but it's highlighting all 3 text boxes. Once you've seen all 3 text boxes highlighted, let go of the mouse. You'll see now a white box outlining your text. When you see that, in your editor on the top right corner of your editor, you're going to click the group button. This is now grouping all of your text sections so that if I move it around, everything stays together. And if I choose to click on one of the vertices to resize it, I can completely change the size of all 3 of them and kind of maintain the proportions that I originally had, which is something I really like to do because I just don't have to rethink about the proportions and rethink about what distances makes the text look nice. This works for me. I keep it this way. Now that we have that text section there, let's zoom out. Let me get my mouse up there. Let's zoom out and get into having some type of backdrop for that text. The text, I'm having a little bit of a hard time reading that text because there's so much going on in the backdrop. So I'd like to add an element in the backdrop for the text. Select the Elements button. I need to clear back to where I would originally start, so click the arrow back, and then clear that search history that we had. Completely clear it. So now under Elements, we'll have access to lines, graphics, stickers, photos, videos, and so much more right below it. We'll get to the rest in a second. But click on Lines and Shapes. You're going to click on the See All, just so that you can preview everything that's available for us. So there's a lot of different lines and shapes that are available here that you can just click and drag, or just click on, and they'll appear on your Canva template here. Now, I would like to have something in the background to kind of make the text easier to read. Now, because it's kind of rectangular, I'm gonna start with basic square shape. If I click on that square shape, the square shape appears in my canvas, and now I can resize it by clicking the vertices and dragging it so that it covers the text that I would like it to cover once it's set. You can move it around, use the vertices or the little dotted lines that appear to indicate where it's centered. I want it centered around the text that I have in the background, but I can't see the text. I know. We'll be able to see it in just a second. Now, go ahead and right click over that image and then send to background. That rectangular shape that I just added is now in the background for this in the background of this text that I've included. I don't quite like the color. Notice that my square, or now rectangle, is still highlighted. I'd like to change the color, so I'm going to use the top navigation options here and select the color button. When you do select that color button, you're going to be given options to choose colors that are in the document, and then to choose colors that are part of the image that I used earlier, I will go ahead and go through and select a color from the image. I want something light, but not too light. I would still like to see the image in the background. So to do that, I will make sure that my square is selected. But now I'm going to use the buttons on the top right side. So right below the share, there's a lock, a link button, and then there's like a checkerboard button. That's the transparency button. If you select the transparency button, notice that you can drag it to find a transparency that works for you. Or if you can't quite get to the number you want, you can just type, in my case I'm typing 60, to get a nice, crisp, transparent background. But I'd still like to be able to see a little bit of the background, but make the text in front clearly visible. Now I'm going to be adding a picture of myself soon, and I would like to have a background for my picture. My picture is going to have a circle background, so I'm going to go ahead and add that right now. I've added the circle just by clicking on the circle in the left side using that editor. I will click and drag on the circle to drag it to the left side of my Canva and resize it by clicking the vertices. Now I'm going to resize it just so that it covers a good portion of my page here on the left side. So I do want students to be able to see me, and I want it to be as clear as possible that, hey, I'm the instructor here. I'm welcoming you to my course. Now, I don't quite like the color that works here, so we'll do the same thing we did for the square. Click on the image, or in this case, our circle, and then click the color box. Once you've clicked on the color box, select images or select colors from the background that we're currently using. So I'm going to go ahead and click like a little bit of a darker neutral color for me. Now that we have that, we're going to go back to the editor. We're still in the elements section, so we need to go back in the lines and shapes section and scroll down all the way down until you see, oops, I passed it, until you see the frames section. Now I've accidentally added something to my page. I'm going to click on it and then select delete. But frames are amazing. They allow you to, it's pretty much like a picture frame, right? But you have a vast array of different frames that can be used, and they make your graphics look so much more polished when you use these frames. I'm going to keep it simple for today and just use this plain old circle frame, but you can use any type of frame you'd like for your course headers. The way we use these frames is just click on the frame and it's going to pop up in your own Canva. Once you see it in the Canva, place the frame wherever you want it to be on the page. I want the frame to be right above the circle, and I want it to be just about the same size as the circle. And if it's not exactly the same size, that's okay, but you can resize it so that it's the same size and it kind of overlaps the circle. Well, now that we have a frame, earlier we uploaded a picture of ourselves. Now go to the upload sections. If you haven't yet uploaded a picture, you can select upload files and upload a new picture of yourself. But if you already have one, like myself here, you want to use that picture, drag and drop it right above your frame. Just dragging and dropping that picture above your frame will replace that frame with your image, and your image will instantly take the shape of the frame. You can double click and drag your picture up and down so that it's centered in the background that you like. Now, I mentioned I do have the Pro account, so I do want to highlight a couple of the things I mentioned earlier about the Pro account is the opportunity to remove the background. By clicking the image, selecting Edit Image and Background Remover, you can completely remove the background, and now my image kind of looks a little bit more polished, and it's really personalized to my course. Now I have a full Canvas header that I can use for my courses here. The way we can get this header onto our desktops and upload it into Canvas is by clicking the share button. So the share button will allow you to download your image, and you can select between a JPEG, a PNG, a PDF. PDF print is if you want to have this printed out, and a GIF. All of these are different web design animation options and video options as well, but we want to use a PNG. I don't want to download everything, so under select pages, I really only want to download my last slide, the one I made from scratch. Click on that option and then select the done button. And the done button, if you can't see it right now, is right below the screen. So we have that done button that you're going to click on and then click download again. You can select a transparent background, but what that's going to do is going to make sure that there's nothing in the background. You only want to do that if you want to make sure that the background's transparent for everyone once they download the image. In our case, we want them to see the interior library, which we've downloaded. Select download. It does take a little while to download the images once you're downloading. But when you do find the image, it's taking a couple seconds here. When you do find the image, you can open it up in your editor and preview the image that you just edited. So today we have created our very own course headers. We've created them from templates using the different stylings, and we've created a very simple, very basic course header from scratch. Thank you so much for joining me for this Flex session. I do want to make sure that everyone knows of all the amazing opportunities that are available for everyone. We have free online courses offered at the PDC. If you're not Distance Education certified and you need that certification to teach this fall, please register for the Introduction to Canvas training that's currently running right now. The Equity in Online Teaching, Canvas Studios, and 10 Days to Accessible Content are all free courses that offer stipends. So you want to make sure you take a look at the PDC Center for those courses. We also have new courses running this semester, and that's Regular Substantive Interaction, Humanizing Online Learning, and 10-10-10 Communication That Matters. Please be sure to check out the PDC site for those trainings. In addition to online courses, the PDC Center also offers Tech Tuesday sessions. We offer sessions for Canvas Studio, Canvas tips and tricks, anything on game-based learning if you want to learn about that, and accessibility amongst many other things. So faculty, you let us know what you need and we'll make sure we get on that. Thank you so much for joining me in this session today. Once again, this is Ana de la Mora, Professional Development and Distance Education Coordinator for San Joaquin Delta College. Feel free to reach out. I'm happy to answer any questions. Have a great day.